wrapped up with Kane Corns. Thanks to Sportsbet, the Swans are 9-1 after a thrilling 6-point victory over the Pies. And Kane, the Pies started really hot. They were up by 33 points in the second quarter, but couldn't get the job done.
They couldn't. Their pressure was as good as you're going to see from any side this year, particularly in the first quarter. So conditions were suiting this, but they were just swarming. That's the best word for it. Every time Sydney picked up the ball, Nat, it was a Collingwood player right in their face. I just thought defensively as good as you are ever going to see, as committed as you are ever going to see. And Sydney couldn't get through. They could not move the footy, and they couldn't either turn the footy in their front half over either, which is the easiest way to score. And life was difficult. From then on, from quarter time onwards, where Collingwood kicked 5 goals in the first quarter, it was a little bit more difficult for them. They only kicked 5 goals for the remainder of the game. There's some reasons as to why that happened, but you can't fault their commitment tonight.
It's hard to maintain that rage when it comes to the pressure for a full 4 quarters, especially when the Sydney Swans have so many stars who stepped up to the plate in the third quarter. But it was their ruckman in Brodie Grundy, who is just growing and growing in stature every single week. What a dominant performance. 34 touches, 24 of those contested, 15 hit-outs to advantage, 12 clearances and a goal.
Well, the numbers are hard to believe. They really are. So Steen goes off injured there. So that did favour and sway the numbers. After that point, clearly no one was going to be able to compete with Brodie Grundy. They didn't have a second ruck. So you can see Buller, it was a bit of Long, it was a bit of McStay. Good luck to you. That's what he did. He was really smart with the way that he did this and just dominated the contest. That gave the Sydney Swans the field advantage and field position off the back of winning clearance. And he's having another very, very good season. Blakey's the other one we've got to mention as well. Once again, Collingwood just allowed him to do as he pleased. He's ended up with 39 and nearly 900 metres gained. So those two, probably 1 and 2 in Sydney's best and fairest, with Isaac Heaney was a bit quieter tonight.
Yeah, career best numbers there for him as well. And we should just mention Oscar Steen, just his 8th game of AFL. It doesn't look good. A suspected ACL. He will have scans in the coming days to have a look at that knee. But obviously disappointing news for Oscar Steen and the Pies. Let's take a look at some of those fourth quarter moments, because it was a seesawing affair. The Pies had some chances, as did the Sydney Swans. But that goal there from Logan McDonald is outrageous.
Over his head from Logan McDonald. Isaac Heaney spent 10 minutes on the bench in the last quarter in crunch time. You can see it there, just ticked over 10 minutes. They couldn't get him back on. Dean Cox, the frustration. Finally, with under 5 minutes to go, they get him back on. If they had have lost this game, that would have been a huge story. In the end, they hold on and win in a really close one. Papley just did his bit. Kicked 2 big goals, one in the third quarter from the boundary, but it was tight, it was tense. Collingwood came with a plan, but as you said, was always going to be hard to sustain that, particularly when there's some key pieces not there, Nat.
Yes, some key pieces, and you might be alluding to skipper Darcy Moore, who wasn't there, also Darcy Cameron. Their ruckman was out, Pat Lipinski, or was it someone else?
It might have been.
Okay, well, let's get to your volcano.
Well, here it is, and Collingwood gave up on their season, and the season was done when they opted to cook Scott Pendlebury in Anzac Day. That's the reality of it. When you put the individual in front of the team and you played him 98% in that last quarter so that he could get 43 and win the medal and then rest the next week against Hawthorn. We know they now drew that game. Then you play, then you rest, even though they're such crucial games, that 3-week window where you've prioritised breaking the record and Anzac Day, instead of winning games of footy. So if Pendlebury plays tonight, if he plays against Hawthorn, there's 2 extra wins, and Collingwood is sitting with Brisbane in the top 6 equal in the ladder, and there's no denying that. Pendlebury plays tonight, they win. Pendlebury plays against Hawthorn, they win, and they've given up on this season as a result. Next week's going to be amazing. Don't get me wrong. We're going to all love the celebration and get around it, but it's about the individual, not about the team. And I think if they had their time again, knowing the results, they would have done things differently.
So I can understand the 5-day break between Hawthorn. This is a 6-day break, so you think maybe he could have got up for this game. It is going to be an iconic moment, though.
No doubt.
In Australian rules football history.
Yeah, he still could have played. Like, I just look at Geelong, the best coach team in the league. Dangerfield, 5-day break with travel, goes and plays and gives it his all in a Thursday night game that they win, because they know it's Brisbane and they know they need Dangerfield. So he played 12 minutes of the last quarter the previous week against Collingwood. Game wasn't in doubt. They knew they were going to win. Dangerfield sits, so he's fresh, goes to Brisbane. Looked pretty sharp to me from what I saw. Pendlebury could have done the same, and he could have played next week and tonight and against Hawthorn, and we could have all been fine.
Except that it wouldn't have been at the MCG.
Yeah, but what do you want? That's the point. Do you want individual? That's the whole point of my argument. Do you want the individual accolades or do you want team success? And he's always been about team success. I know this is a big one, but Scott Pendlebury's philosophy for the time that I've seen him play has always been team first. On this occasion, the club and him have sacrificed wins for, manufacturing this outcome.
So the season's cooked for Collingwood?
Yep, season's done now.
Cooked. All right, we will remember this moment. We'll see what happens at the end of the season. Let's get on to the Gold Coast Suns because they defeated Port Adelaide Yatapulti tonight in Darwin, the fortress that is now TIO Stadium. 10 straight wins there. They cannot be beaten there.
They can't, and especially when you get them second up. So when they've been there for the second week, they have, and they've got used to the conditions last week. They've been a bit scratchy. I think they've been underperforming this year, Gold Coast, but now they're sort of getting themselves into the season and getting some players back in form. Noel Anderson was great tonight. Thought their stoppage game was really strong. Petrarca 9 clearances, Anderson had 8, and that was really the difference in tricky, tough, slippery conditions which were taxing on the players. It was a shocking game of footy. It's not one that anyone will watch the replay of, but Damien Hardwick and Gold Coast are sitting there going, gee whiz, we're right back into the teeth of the season with 2 really important wins against sides that we should be beating.
And they're playing 2 rucks. So we're all really interested to see what teams did with 5 on the bench. We know Hawthorn has played the 2 rucks. Now you've got Moyle and Witts doing the hard yards together, and it seems to be working.
So Moyle's just too good not to play. So you just have to play him and you find a way. And now with 5 on the bench, clearly these 2, that can be a weapon for them. Now, I didn't see the forward craft in him, but initially had Lachie Jones as a matchup. So undersized, Lachie Jones, of course, went off with concussion.
Yeah.
He ends up going forward and kicking 3 goals more. So, I mean, it's a big target and in tough conditions, not suited to big ruckman resting forward. I think this is something that they can explore, particularly like we're seeing with Melbourne now with 2, with Hawthorn with 2, Fremantle are playing 2. So the good teams that are going to be there in September largely are going to have 2 rucks. I think it's definitely something worth exploring for the majority of the season. It worked well tonight.
Oh, it certainly did. You can stretch the back line there really well, especially with Ben King down there. Jed Walter as well. A lot of talk. He's such a young player that's coming through. Key forwards take a little bit longer. 3 goals, 1 tonight. That's 9 goals for the year now in a handful of games.
I want to ask you a question, Nat.
What you're seeing?
If you were the coach sitting in match committee of Gold Coast, they're playing in a grand final this week. Are you picking Walter or Jamara? Who are you picking?
Oh, you're probably picking Jamara for that X factor. Oh.
So I've got my eye. There's no right or wrong answer, clearly. I've got my eye on the future because I just don't want to lose him.
No, he's too good to lose.
He is. So if Ben King signs, which we're all hearing he's going there for 2 years, he's out of contract. He's going to have clubs that are desperate for a key forward. Collingwood, Adelaide, there's a number of them back home to Perth maybe. He's going to be hard to keep if he's not in the side. So I'm saying to him, mate, I'm picking you. That shows him that we see him as the future key forward with Ben King. I think he's going to get there. I just think he has to play. So for me, I'm picking him over Jamara for, when he's fit for the rest of the season, and Jamara more becomes a backup if there's injuries. But yeah, he hasn't quite got the selection of that key forward line right yet. There's been no continuity on the Gold Coast. Yeah,
a few selection headaches coming Damien Hardwick's way, that for sure. Is this the worst 20 seconds of football we've seen for the season? Now, this could be a big call, but this was pretty horrible. Mac Andrew with the kick out. I don't even know what he's thinking there. And then this, the horn. Surely he would normally
I was so flat when he missed that. He just had time and he rushed it like for such a skilled player. I did see Tom Papley miss a goal from 12 metres out straight in front. Went the dribble kick, should have just gone the drop punt. So I don't know. Tough conditions. We'll blame it on that. Yeah, okay. You might get a little bit of a free pass then, Jason Horn, Francis. Let's rewind the clock back to Thursday night because it was Geelong making a statement at the Gabba. They defeated the reigning premiers in Brisbane by 41 points. We have been talking so much about Fremantle and Sydney as the flag favourites. Have we been sleeping on Geelong? And you're obviously wearing the cap tonight. Yeah, I sort of raided the cupboard and found this nice hat because I couldn't not be impressed having been there live and seeing what they did. I think it's one of the home and away victories of the year to go up there off a 5-day break against the dual premiership team on their home deck and get it done. I just thought they went with a plan. They executed it as well as they possibly could have. Just goes to show the genius of Chris Scott and some of their players like Sean Manor in career best form. He's kicked 12 goals in the last 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And this will now be referred to as the Sean Manor game. Extraordinary. 30 disposals he's had. He's kicked 5 and 14 score involvements. Like, there's your 3 Brownlow votes. He's only ever polled 2 votes previously. He should get all 6. He was that good. I just couldn't believe it. Every time the ball hit the deck inside forward 50, he was there. He had this red-hot purple patch in the third term where he kicked 3 goals in 4 minutes. And it's just a great story. It's a great football story. And this is the vision of Fletcher, who just gave him far too much leeway. So they did not get this match-up right. We'll get to Fletcher in a moment. But if you give good players that much space inside their forward 50, they'll make you pay. But what a great story it is. Another one for Geelong that was mature age and no one else showed him some love, but they did. And now he's one of the best small forwards in the league.
It's a good lesson for Jasper Fletcher. I think watching back that tape during the week might be a little bit hard for him. He hasn't been in great form this year so far, and he's had an outstanding first couple of years in the system.
Yeah, so we've lauded him, and rightly so. We've put him on the pedestal with Will Ashcroft and said, you're as talented as Will, and you may even be better. I know I've said that. But this year, his form has been off. For whatever reason, that happens to young players. Maybe they get a little bit ahead of themselves and they think, oh, how easy is this? I've come into a great side. I'm a premiership player already. We're just going to roll on. But I want to speak about Chris Fagan because he's the most loyal senior coach in the league. We see Chris Scott rotate his players. He's not afraid to drop some big-ish names. Fagan never does it. There's the omissions for this season. There is no one there that jumps off the page. In fact, they're just the same names that rotate through. There's no Cam Rayner. There's no Jasper Fletcher. I think, watching Fletcher closely, I think he needs a run in the VFL. Now, you may say, well, why would Fagan change up his method now? It's worked so well for him. But you're chasing 3. Is this the rocket that the rest of the group needs to go, you know what? Gee, Fags is onto us. I bet we better lift. We better all lift if we want to win 3 and we want that motivation. So I wouldn't be opposed to Chris Fagan making a selection statement, which he never ever does, just to shake the group up a little bit. And my eyes are on Fletcher because he's just not in good form. Cam Rayner's the other one. Now, Cam's got a few more credits in the bank than what Jasper does, but not in great form either. And I'm not suggesting you drop Hugh McCluggage, but Hugh McCluggage is off as well. So I think it's more a lack of confidence in his body. But will Chris be bold and brave, maybe for the first time in the last 3 or 4 years, and drop a big name at selection? It's a watch for me.
Very, very big watch on that. Just back to Sean Manor. I mean, the Geelong recruiting has been stellar. We know that they do this every so often, but this is the draft class from 2023. He was pick 36 off the back of a 6-goal grand final win for Werribee in the VFL. You look at some of these other names, he's right up there with those top 10 picks, isn't he?
Right up there. Now, he's not probably as valuable as some of those because of his age. Like, he's into his mid-20s. He's been in late 20s.
26.
Yeah, 26. So more almost your late 20s, whereas those guys have got 10 years, 12 years left in them. So it's going to be a shorter window, clearly. But if you're in it for the now, like Geelong are, what a shrewd pick up. And I think there's other clubs now. We're seeing it with Sydney with some of their mature age players coming in and others that they're going to be very valuable players. And then when you compare his numbers to a player that I'm reading is going to get $10 million offers, Nat, from Adelaide,
Cha-ching!
Zach Bailey. Well, is there much difference there? In fact, they're very, very similar numbers. And now I know Manor has just recently re-signed on a 3-year deal, which just quietly, Geelong just got that one done.
Should have held out for more.
I'd hate to think what he's been paid. I would think he would be under the AFL average wage, which is about $500,000. So he's getting paid well. But compare that to Bailey, who's going to get double for 10 years, and the numbers are pretty much identical. What a bargain they've got.
Well, another mature ager the Cats picked up quite a few years ago now in the draft is Tom Stewart. They got him from South Barwon Football Club, but he was a brick wall last night. 17 intercepts from his 28 disposals. And Kane, we have behind the goals vision to demonstrate just how much he can hurt you when you leave him to his own devices.
Never seen footage of this game exclusive to us here. That's what you get, and you have to see it from behind the goals to explain what a genius he is. So the decision making is what I want to watch. How quickly he decides, righto, I've got to press and not fold back. So he's making that decision in an instant. He's got his man there, he can see him, he knows where it is. As soon as his man becomes irrelevant, I'm back and I'm helping. So the 7 intercept marks, it's all about the decision making, the timing, and then clearly there's some athleticism and brilliant skill. That one they just kick straight to him, but that's to do with his positioning as well. So remember a year or so ago, teams came after him really hard.
Yeah.
and he didn't like the tag at all. No one does. And they said, well, we better get him in the midfield. We better do some different things with Tom Stewart. That's coming. So Geelong, that will be the next test for them. Clubs are not going to allow him to do what he did last night. And I was disappointed in Brisbane because you play Geelong, you got Holmes, you got Smith, you got Stewart. They're the three. You got to take one or two of them out. Brisbane did neither and let them do as they please, as well as Sean Manor, who we've touched on.
Speaking of taggers, I was interested during the week to see who Geelong coach Chris Scott would send O'Shane Mullen to. In the end, it was Lachie Neale. Now, it probably didn't stop his impact completely, but it was his work that he was able to do offensively and hit the scoreboard, which he did against Collingwood the week before, that was also impressive.
So this is the evolution of a run with player. Firstly, you start out and your whole focus is don't let my man touch the footy. But then when you get more experience, you go, okay, we've got it. I'm going to make him work. Look at the speed. That's what they love about him. So good luck to Lachie, who's into his 30s now, trying to keep up with this freakish athlete from Ireland. They call him the Irish Dacos. Yeah. He was that much of a star over there. And now he's learning. And I think he's getting his footy in dangerous positions in the front half of the ground, like we touched on with Dacos last week. So, yeah, he's a weapon. Lachie still didn't give up and had close to 30, but I just think O'Shane's possessions the other way are becoming very valuable.
So is it a case of Lachie Neale just couldn't go with him rather than choosing not to go with him?
Just physically couldn't go with him. And that's going to become more common for him because what player that he's going to be tagging on firstly has the defensive capabilities. They're all superstars. They don't defend. And then who can go with him physically? Probably not many. So it's going to be a real weapon for them. He can also play small defender, as we've seen as well. So some good versatility. They love him, and rightly so.
All right, Kane, it's now time for your crystal ball, thanks to Sportsbet. Tell me, what can you see in that crystal ball?
Young players always go through some challenges, and I think Cooper Trembath is starting just to hit the first little roadblock of his career. He burst onto the scene, he's kicking bags of 3 every week. You can see it there. Look at his numbers from rounds 1 to 6. Then it's become difficult. Look, he hasn't troubled the scorers. He's been a bit in the ruck. They've tried to get him going.
More difficult opponents.
Yeah, definitely. And opposition scouting you a bit more, working out what your strengths and weaknesses are. So I just think against Adelaide, they can win this game of footy north. They really can. I think their midfield is going to absolutely take it to Adelaide's. They've got the advantage there. And he's going to get a favourable match, probably ball ace. I think that's the matchup that Trembath is going to get. So a real test for him to not let a 2-week quiet stretch turn into 4, turn into 6, and then you're going, okay, what are we going to do with him? Are we going to put him back? Does he need to go back to the VFL? So I just think it's a very desperate game for him, and he's got to play with some real desperation against the Crows because North can win that game.
You're brave enough to tip North Melbourne?
Not brave enough to tip them, but if Riley Thilthorpe doesn't play, which I'm hearing he might not, then pretty much 50-50.
All right, time now to finish off with Nat's Nuggets. Are you a seafood lover?
I'm not a big seafood person.
Well, I love seafood. Okay. So this is the top end, Darwin. The Long family cookout. You can see the vision here of the prawns Christian Petrarca's eating. There were mud crab. They were put on an absolute feast there in Darwin. But how about this? Christian Petrarca off fishing. Look at this catch. It is ginormous. That is huge.
There are some people that are just good at everything. And he's one of those.
He is. And then he cooked it up for everyone.
Looking, he can cook, he can play footy, he can fish. Well, yeah. Well done, Christian. You had 9 clearances tonight. What more do you want?
Have you been fishing? I know you like fishing for comments.
Seasick. I get seasick.
Do you?
I do catch a couple of fish. I caught a few this week, actually. Yeah, one that you know very well, but we'll get to that later.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about. Fish. Hello, Damien Barrett.
I might chuck him back in.
Give him a kiss. All right, this has been First Up with Kane Corns. Thanks to Sportsbet. We'll see you again next week.
You win some, you lose more. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.